Good morning to all of you. So share the screen.
वो क्लाउड का था।
So let us start the class. We were actually last time we started with the object-oriented programming in Python, and we were trying to create the classes and instances. So let me briefly start with the topic. So the question is that why do we use classes? Right, classes actually allow us to logically group our data and functions in a way that's easy to use, maybe reuse and build upon if need be. And the important thing that I talked about the other day also, that once I am referring to data, so it is also referred to as the attributes, and the functions are also called method, right? And what we were trying to do, that we were trying to create an employee class where the class will have different employees, and the employees will certainly have their names, their pay, email addresses. So we were talking about the first name, the last name, pay, and the email addresses. So you can add more, but just to exemplify how to create a class and instances and move further, so I was just taking this example. All right. Now, as I said, a class is a blueprint for creating instances of the class. So here, as an example that I'm creating a class employee, right? The name of the class is the employee. I'm putting a pass here because if we don't put a pass here and you don't put anything here, then it may give error. So once pass is there, so still nothing is there in the employee class, but still it will not give an error. So m underscore one, this is the instance created for this employee class, and m2 for the employee second. This is the instance created for from the same class only. All right. And if you print these two instances, you will see that these are objects created, and they will have the different locations also. We talked about the other day also. Now, this is what we will do. These are the instance variables that we will create. So m underscore one is the instance. How to create the instance variables? It is instance dot the variable name, which I'm taking as the first. I'm putting my name here. Second instance variable I'm creating is dot last Sharma. So third is email dot pay. This is for the first employee. And similarly for the second employee, I will have to create the same instance variables. So if I print, let's say I want to print the email, let me keep running the code so that it may not create problem further. If you want to print the email addresses and the pay of the first employee, then you can print it also. So that means here, though we have created a class here, but there is nothing in the class. And let us say there are 10,000 employees or 1,000 employees in a company. So you will have to write this code for all the, you will have to proceed like this. So that means we are not making any use of the class. So now let us try to make use of the class, and let's see how we can build upon our code. Now, whenever we are using the class, right? So we will use here a special init method, which will be created inside the class. So we have a class employee here. So we will create a method. Method, as I said, is a function only. So the way to create the method is def, define, right? 2 times underscore init. This is how it is created. When we create, methods within a class, they receive instance as the first argument. So the instance is the first argument, and by by convention, we take self as the first instance. Afterwards, you can make, you can give any arguments. After self, you can create, we can specify what other arguments we want to give, we want to accept. But the first argument is the self, right? Now, using the self argument, right? We will, what we can do is that we can create the instance variables. So self dot first is the instance that is passed, automatically it is passed, right? Self dot first, we can change the name here as you want, but it is a practice to keep self dot first equal to first, the same first as first I'm putting here. So self dot last is last, self dot pay is pay, self dot email is we can create the email address from the first name plus dot, right? As the convention is there in Thapar. So last name plus @thapar.edu, right? So this is the init method created in the employee class. All right. Now, init method takes the instance which we call self here, and after self, you can when you can pass on the other arguments like first, last, and the pay. So these are, I'm not taking email as the argument because email I'm creating from the first and the last argument only, right? So I'm passing first, last, first name, last name, and the pay. Now, how to pass the if you want to create for employee one, so you use the employee class here. Pass the parameters. Sanjay Sharma, 50,000 is the pay. Let's say for employee two, I'm passing, right? If I print m.email, please mute your microphones. If you want to print the email, you can say print. So now we are making use of the class. So employee one. So these for employee one, these parameters will be passed, and it will print the email, right? Sanjay.sharma@thapar.edu. Now I am also, printing the first name and the last name for employee one, but this is outside the class, and I'm using the format function here. How to use the format function? This is print two placeholders, right? Dot format and employee one dot first and employee one dot last. So that will print the name of the employee. But this is outside the class. We will see how to create a excuse me, how to create a method inside the class. We'll see that part. So in the next cell, that's what I'm trying to explain the difference here. So this print command is the printing of the name outside the class, but let's now create a method within the class itself. So method is def full name. Again, the argument is instance will be passed as an argument automatically. So which by convention we take as self. You can put any name, there's no problem, but by convention the name is put as self. And what we are returning? We are returning self dot first and self dot last. This is how the full name will be printed. And this is and we are passing the parameters for employee one and employee two. So if you want to print the full name of employee one, now I'm making use of the method which we created inside the class. So M1 is the instance dot, this is the method name, full name is the method created, and this is how we can make use, we can create methods inside the class. All right, init is also a method inside the class. So if you run it, it will print the name. All right, now let's go a little further. This is again printing cell number 6 is again printing the names of the two employees, full name, making use of the full name method which is created inside the class. Correct? Let's go further. I can also here you see here I'm using in the print command. If you see, I'm using instance with method, instance dot method, right? And you can also use class dot method also for employee one. Right? This is also you can, but it will not tell you employer what is actually happening, right? So you can use the instance also, otherwise you can use the instance and the class both. Now let us talk about what are class variables, because these are the instance variables that we created. Now let us see what are the class variables, how the class variables are different from the instance variables. Let's see to that part. Now, instance variables are used for data, as if you see, as you see this part of the program. So this is the instance variables are being used for data or attributes, because which are unique to instances, right? So this data will be unique to, like, employee one. This is one instance, employee two. This is another instance. Will be unique to instances which are set using the self argument. So the data is set like this. Now, whereas class variables are shared amongst all the instances. Now we will, for example, this is the class variable I've created, which is raise amount, because in an organization, employees get the raise also. So and every employee will get the raise. So therefore, I can use raise amount as a class variable in the class, rather than creating a variable inside the method. I'm creating this variable out outside the methods. So raise amount, let's say, is 1.04. There is a 4% increase in the salary, right? So already I have created the init method and the full name method, right? Third method that I'm trying to create is apply raise. So this is the raise amount, and we have to apply we have to create a method to apply this raise amount. So of course it will be applied to the pay self.pay instance variable. So self.pay equal to int, because I want the integer value. So self.pay, which was earlier the self.pay, into raise amount. So raise amount is 1.04. I am again passing these parameters, right? And I'm printing the full name. I'm printing emp1 using this full name method, emp2 for using again the full name method, and then I'm printing the pay for, before applying the apply raise method. I am printing the pay of the employee one, then to employee one dot apply raise. So I'm using this method now, and then I'm printing the pay for the employee one. If you run this code, you will see that here it is an error. Okay, let me just check. What was the problem here? Okay, so let me check here. This is running, so we'll see what the errors. Anyway, we'll talk about the maybe two. Okay, so okay, so if you run this now, let me explain once again. So you are passing the parameters for employee one and employee two. Then you are trying to print the name of the employee 1 using the full name method, name of the employee 2 using the full name method again, printing the employee 1 pay before using this apply raise method. Then to the instance employee 1 you are using this method, and so the pay will be revised and you are then printing it. And what you get is, since you are printing the names of the employee 1, employee 2 both also, and 50,000 is the pay before applying the raise and 52,000 is the pay after you apply the raise. All right, so this is how you can create classes and methods within the class, right? And how you what are instances, what are instance variables, what are class variables, what are attributes and methods. So these things you must be now aware of, right? So you can also print the for employee 1 you can use the dict instance, and you in that case will come to know about the information about the employee 1. And you can apply this dict in for the whole class, so you will be getting a lot of information, what are the objects, what are the instances, what are the methods, and so on. All right, then you can also do this thing that if you want to use the class variable for employee 1 also, you can put a instance also. So you employee underscore 1 dot raise amount equal to 1.05, right? So now if you want, now if you print the, see, you have not changed the class variable. Class variable is still 1.04, but you are changing the instance variable here. You are applying to this instance, right? This method you are applying to this instance, 1.05. So if you now print it, what you will see is that you will get, sorry, I did not run this line. So now if you run this, you will see that so only employee 1 is raise is 1.05. For the other, the raise is 1.04. Right. So this is how you can create the class variables and so on. So earlier we used earlier in this part I have created the methods, right? Now these are actually the regular, we will call these methods as the regular methods within the class, right? So we have so regular methods in a class will automatically take instance as the first argument, and by convention we call it the self instance, right? Now how can we change this notion actually, right? That the that regular methods take the instance as the first argument. We want to change this notion. What we want to do, how can we change this notion so that it automatically takes the class as the first argument rather than the instance as the argument, first argument? We want to take the class as the first argument, right? These are regular methods. This init method, full name, apply, raise, these are regular methods, right? And we want to now create class methods where the class will be taken as the first argument. Now to do that, what we need to do here, we need to define here. To do that, we will use what we call as to do that we need to add a decorator here. So this is the decorator added, right? This decorator, it is @ class method. Right? Now, what are decorators? Decorators actually alters the functionality of our method to receive the class as first argument instead of instance, right? So let's see how it can be done. So we use this decorator class method and we define the name of the class method as set underscore raise underscore amount. And if you see here, it's not taking the instance as the first argument, rather it is taking the class as the first argument and the amount, right? So by convention, the first argument will be class, and it's a general convention that self is the by convention people put self as the first instance here in a regular method, and in the class method you will see that people use CLS as the class, right, as the first argument, which is a class, comma amount. So we will apply this CLS dot raise amount, which we call as the amount here. Okay, so this is our amount. So okay, let's see how it can be used. This is printing the this is almost printing the same thing. Let me go to the next part. Okay, let's see what we set. So we are setting the raise amount here. So this raise amount is 1.04. So this class is a class dot raise amount is the amount. So that will be passed. All right. Now passed as the amount passed as the amount. Now these are the parameters passed. So what you are doing here is that you are using employee dot set raise amount. No, I'm not using it. Okay. So here I'm using this class method, right? Employee dot set raise amount is 1.05, which is basically the amount, right? And I'm printing. So this is the okay. This is the, so I'm using employee. I'm setting the, no, this is only I'm setting the amount here 1.05, and then I'm printing. All right. The important thing is that how to create class methods. So class methods can be created like this using a decorator. So it will allow what thing it will allow is that it will allow the class as the instance to be passed. Right. Then let's check for one more important concept, which is inheritance and creating subclasses. So let's see what is inheritance and creating subclasses. Now, the example that I'm taking is for an organization, let's say, where we are trying to create the class for the employee. But there can be, as an example, we can take two types of employees, right? One is the developer, the other is the manager. That's it. Now, so we will try to create subclasses. Once we try to create the subclasses, the subclass, all the functions, methods, attributes associated with the class will be inherited to the subclasses also, right? So let's see, that's what is called inheritance. Let's see. So class employee is created, raise amount, this is the class variable. This is the init method, full name method, apply raise method. We know all this. Now we create a class, subclass basically, developer subclass, and the argument is the class itself. So that means uh, we are not putting a code here in this developer class without any code of its own, right? So there is no code for the developer. Without any code of its own, developer subclass will have all the attributes and methods of the employee class. So employee class, all the methods and attributes, it will have this subclass, which is developer, right? So let's try to print and get the, so this is developer one, but I'm using here the employee class only. I'm not using the developer class, right? For DEV2, this is developer, the second developer, but I'm again using the employee class here, and when I'm trying to print, so I'm printing. But in the next cell, what I have done is I'm not using the employee class, rather I'm using the developer class, right? So if you see here, yes, I'm using the I'm passing the parameters using the developer class, because as I said, once you create a subclass, it will inherit all the functionality in the class itself. So I'm using, since I have created this subclass from the employee class only, I'm I'm using here the developer class, right, to create these instances. And when I do so, let me remove this first. Let's remove this first. And if you see now, the same parameters are printed, full name and the salary, using the subclass, because it has inherited all the functionality from the class itself. And you can also also use the help function for the developer subclass. So let's see what the help function will give us. Help function will actually see, this is because we are inheriting all the functionality from the main class, and we are creating a developer class here. In this program, we have created a developer subclass. This is known, this chain of inheritance from the main class to the subclass, and maybe even further, this chain of inheritance is actually known as method resolution order, right? So how the chain or how the method resolution order works, this developer is the subclass, employee is the main class, right? So built-in dot object, this is the class created in the compiler itself. This is the main class which is created in the software, right? So this method, this inheritance of classes, that means all the functionality and data attributes passing on to the subclasses is known as this method. This is known as method resolution order, right? So this is the employee. Okay, so this is method resolution order. Now, what other things I have come to know from this help function? Methods inherited from employee. Now, employee was my main class. What are the methods inherited to the developer class? This is the init method, right? Then it has also inherited apply raise and full name. If you see here, these are the three methods which are there, which this developer subclass has inherited from the employee class, correct? Then it has also inherited data descriptors inherited from employee class. This is dict, dictionary for instance variables if defined, and it has also inherited the class variable. So if you see, if you remember, this class variable we created, which is raise amount, right? So this is a class variable, and please remember self dot first, self dot last, self dot, these are instance variables, right? So this is, you know, this is how you can make a beginning for object oriented programming. to develop structured and systematic code, right? Rather than rather than developing a straight code. So it is better to create classes for different functionalities. Since the since the classes will create a blueprint, right? So those blueprints you can distribute also. People can modify, people can build upon, people can use those classes. Number one, they can build upon those classes. They can even change the classes, right? So without affecting the other part of the code, correct? So that's how the object-oriented programming can be started. Since in this course, I cannot, probably you might have done in your data structures course, or even programming, first two programming courses, the first and the second semester in C or C++, C++ rather. So I will not, go beyond this point in Python programming. I have already introduced the basic concepts like real lists and matrices, arrays, data frames, certain packages like NumPy, pandas, matplotlib, right? And then I have also gone, because when you will start the programming for machine learning algorithms, you will be importing classes, then you will be importing certain methods for doing the functionality, right? So I thought that it was important at least to make to brush up the ideas. Before we will finish this lecture, I want to also talk about one more package, which is Seaborn. Let me just open the, stop sharing this, and okay. So I hope you are able to see the other Python file that I am displaying here on my screen. This is the same script file which I use for notebook, which I use for explaining the data frames. But I want to explain a little bit about the, okay, I want to just explain about this Seaborn display visualization package. It's a very powerful package actually. So it is built over top of matplotlib. You can do many things using this Seaborn. So I will just do 2-3 things with the Seaborn package, and I will give you the how to do more as a reference. You can refer to the website where you can take the code and put the code into your program, and you can do graphics and visualization in quite a detailed manner. So let us see how to make use of the Seaborn package. Just an introductory I will discuss. So you have to import matplotlib. Let me first actually run this the same data set. Okay. Otherwise it will give error. One more column I need to run is for the change of the names of the column. Otherwise, I won't be able to run. Just give me these things I have already covered, right? How to change the names. Okay, this was the. All right, the names are changed. So let's now come to Seaborn package, and let me explain what we can. I've already done the things which you are seeing going through on your screen. Okay. So you import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and you can import cbond, which is a Python package, as SNS, which is a usual practice. And this line is there, percentage matplotlib inline. This is because we have to create the graphs within the Jupyter notebook in the same cell. So therefore, this line is required. So let's import it first. Then, because I am using the same demographic data set, so this is the data set, right? Now I want to create the first visualization using the cbond package, right? So I'm creating viz1. Since I have imported cbond as SNS dot, so you can see here there are various types of plots. You can, if you say SNS dot and press tab, you will come to know there are different types of plots that you can make use of. But to start with, we are interested in this this plot, this function, right? And what we want to do is that I'm using the stats as the data set, and I want to plot for internet users, right? So when I run this, so this is the graph. This is the kind of histogram it will automatically create. So on the x-axis, these are internet users, and these are the values. So this is how the graph can be plotted using the this plot function. Okay, then let's look at a little bit more. So since this warning was coming, so how you can avoid this warning? You can avoid this warning by typing import warnings package, then warnings dot filter warnings and ignore. If you run this, you will ignore these warnings and the graph will be displayed straight away. And you can also change the size of the graph by plt.rc params figure.fig size. If you put 8,4, you will see that there is a different size. If you put 8,6, we'll see that there is a different size. So you can change the size of the graph also. Then you can so if you see here, because you are using this plot as the function, so the first parameter is the data that you want to use in your graphics. You put comma here, and then if you press shift tab, you will see that what other arguments you can use in this function. And if you press this plus sign, you will see that it will actually explain how this function is used to plot the graph, right? The function combines the matplotlib hist function with automatic calculation of a good default with the cbond. So it actually explains the how this is acting over the matplotlib package to create graphs. So bins is an argument actually we will use here, and you can go through these other details, right? Now, if you use bins, the second argument bins equal to 30, then you will see that it will create the 30 histograms, right? Or if you, let's say, use 10, so it will create different. If you want to use 100, it will give you something like that. But I think 30 or maybe a little less will be quite okay, right? So this is one application. The the other application that I want to talk about is the box plot, right? Box plot is another function in the Seaborn. So if you use this function and you supply data as the stats, so whatever is what you will see is that using this box plot function, it will try to give you an indication about the values, that because in our data set two columns are for numeric columns, so it actually gives a box kind of plot where approximately you can know the values that for these parameters the values range like this, right? So you can use the on the x-axis you can plot income group. So these are the four parameters, four attributes of the income group column: high income, low income, upper middle income, and lower middle income. So box plot will actually give you the birth rate for different income groups, kind of an indication quickly. So that's the advantage of using the box plot. And there are many more many more things that you can do with Seaborn. To just give you an example, what we will do is that we will go in any browser, let's say to Google. I will just show you. Search for Seaborn gallery. Let me just share the screen. Okay. So if you search for Seaborn gallery, what you will see is that this is example gallery. So this is basically the documentation, right? So these are the example graphs that you can create using the using Seaborn, right? Many types of graphics you can create, for example, and you will see that the reference code is also there, right? You can copy this code, or for example, this is KDE plot. KDE plot will be quite used quite a lot. So this is KDE bivariate KDE plots, right? So you can use again, the code is there. You can use this code as reference, put it in your own file, and you can create a lot of graphics out of this Seaborn package. All right, so you can just make a at your own end. You can read about, you can whenever need be, you can use different types of plots to analyze your results. All right, so all in all, maybe tomorrow I will take some other data set and we will try to solve a problem. I will see about it, but as far as the Python programming is concerned, I will for the time being stop doing that, and I will start with the data pre-processing and data cleaning kind of things for setting the stage for machine learning algorithms. That whenever you are given a data set, it may be a raw data set, you need to clean it, you need to pre-process the data. So we will start with that from either tomorrow or maybe next week. I will see that. Somebody's asking something, let me see. I will provide these 100%. Whatever I will do, I am already providing it also, and today also I will send all the notebooks to you. Just now I will send, right? So no need to worry. With these, I know that you, many of you may be knowing all these things, but just to move with the class, so you can refer to these notebooks, and I mean you can solve the assignments, and I mean you can, as a reference, you can do it. If any other question is there, please ask. Otherwise, I will end the lecture. Okay, thank you very much for joining. Thank you.